We're here with Major Mick Lynch, who's the Assistant Regimental Secretary of the Yorkshire Regiment and also the Chair of the Royal Yorkshire Regiment Association. We're here today. We're going to talk to Mick about the Yorkshire Regiment Benevolent Fund, which is one of the charities that we raise money for in our VE hard routine charity. Now then, Mick, how are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you? Good to see you both back safe and sound.
Yeah. Good. It's good to be back. We're not gonna lie, quite quickly. It was quite disappointing, actually.
It's like the comes after a tour, isn't it?
Oh, massively, yeah. Massively straight back into work. Straight relentless. Mick, before we talk about your role with the Benevolent Fund, do you wanna give us a quick rundown of your cap badge, your history, your career in the army?
Yeah, can do. So I joined the army the day before my 17th birthday. My first full day in the army, I was in the QMs being issued denims and stuff, thinking, what have I done? And then I stuck around for the next 30 years. So I did 10 years with the Green Howards initially. And then I transferred to the Small Arms School Corps, did 20 years with them. I was the RSM of the Corps, commissioned in 2010 as a captain, stuck around until 2018, left as a major. I went and ran Walcott training area for 4 years and then moved across to the job that I've got now, working for Regimental headquarters, doing welfare support predominantly for our veteran community, but sometimes there's a crossover with the battalions where there's cases that the battalion needs some financial assistance with. But yeah, so I've been doing that for the last 3 years.
That's 3 years. How is the role? Is it all right?
It's good, yeah. It's interesting. So I get involved in sort of community engagement stuff, so things going on in York Minster, Armfield Day, all that kind of stuff. I'm the chair, as you already said, I'm the chair of the Regimental Association, so that takes up a fair bit of time. We've got 20 geographic branches across not just Yorkshire. Our furthest north branch is in Hartlepool, our furthest southern branch is in Warminster. The majority are in Yorkshire and Teesside, but we have got some outside of there. So we've got 20 branches. We've then got the Millennium branch, which I know you two guys are aware of. The Millennium branch is it's not a geographical branch. It's a networking branch, and it's for the younger generation. It's for the guys that served 2000 to around about 2020. So it's predominantly for the guys who've gone through the Iraq and Afghanistan era, because they're the guys that have arguably a harder time. And I'm not taking anything away from the guys who served in Northern Ireland and the Balkans, because I did all that myself as well. I'm not taking any of that away, but I think the intensity of the Iraq and Afghanistan era has left some deeper scars than maybe some of the earlier operations that we were involved with did. So anyway, that's the Millennium branch. So they meet up for breakfast clubs, hill walking, all kinds of activities, and it's a sort of mutual support network for that younger generation, as opposed to the geographical branches. And I'm not taking anything away from them either. That tends to be Thursday night in the Legion, couple of pints, swapping war stories. The Millennium branch is more activity based rather than socialising. So we've got that, we've got the association, and then the biggest part of my job is welfare support to our veterans, and this is the whole point of you raising money for the regiment, and I know we're going to talk about that in a minute as well.
Yeah, excellent. We've had this chat a load of times. To be fair, I think one of the things putting people off joining branches and associations and stuff like that, especially from our generation, is the sort of ran and attended by an older generation of veterans who did Northern Ireland and potentially Falklands, but it's mainly of that era, isn't it? So a lot of the younger blokes don't feel like they can go there because they can't associate with it, if you know what I mean. So I think the Millennium Branch is a really good idea, actually. Really good idea.
It is. It's really taken off. You've seen the that are on Facebook and the other sort of social networking that's sent out from the likes of Jimmy Linus and Wilf Mannion. There's some good stuff going on. Really good stuff.
Where does the Yorkshire Regiment with that?
So the Benevolence Trust, the majority of the income for that comes from serving soldiers. So they give 1 day's pay per year, split over the 12 months. So that tops up our benevolence pot. So that is getting smaller because the amount of money that we're paying out is not reducing. The amount of cases that we're doing annually are not reducing, but the army is getting smaller. The 2nd Battalion, you'll be aware, is shrinking because they're in a experimentation role, so that they've got smaller numbers. So that's less people paying into the Benevolence Trust. But the Benevolence Trust, we average about 170 cases a year that we're supporting, and money-wise, that's about £100,000 a year that we're providing in grants. And those grants vary, and it depends on who they're going to and what the personal circumstances are and the age group. A guy who's in his 80s, 90s, who needs mobility aids, he might need home adaptations, he might need grab rails, walk-in showers, walk-in baths. But it could be the younger generation. It could be somebody we had 18 operational deaths since the regiment was formed, and more than double that people with life-changing injuries in Iraq and Afghanistan. So a lot of those guys need some support as well. And that could be mobility aids. It could be assistance with prosthetic limbs. There's some emotional support as well needed. So it's not always just about the money. But we are supporting about 170 cases and about £100,000 a year. But it's also worth noting that isn't just cat-badged Royal Yorkshire Regiment soldiers and veterans. Because the regiment was formed in 2006, an amalgamation of the Prince of Wales Zone, the Green Howards and the Duke of Wellingtons, when those 3 regiments all came together and formed the Yorkshire Regiment, we would have done anyway, we took on the responsibility for looking after the entire regimental family. So it's those that are cat-badged Yorks, but there's a big percentage of people who are cat-badged Yorks who were originally cat-badged one of the antecedents, and there's also the generation of people who left before 2006 who were only ever in the antecedents, but they're still part of the regimental family. So they're covered by us for Benevolent as well. And on top of that, so that's the regular units, on top of that, each of those regiments had their own reserve battalion as well. So we're supporting the regulars and reserves. And before 1993, the reserves in Yorkshire were the Yorkshire Volunteers. So they became, in 93, 3 PWO, 3 DWR and 4-5 Green Howards. So we've got responsibility for a large number of ex-service personnel, as well as those currently serving across that. So the 3 antecedents, regular and reserve, as well as those that are currently badged Yorks.
Unreal amount of people to have to look after that. That was one of the things I was going to bring up, because we had mostly positive feedback on what we were doing, but some of the more negative comments on the social media and stuff, we had a handful of maybe some of the older generation blokes who were saying, well, I'm not Yorks, why would I support this? Sort of words to that effect. We had one specifically on day one on the video taken outside the Green Howards Museum saying, I'm Green Howards, not Yorks. Like, take issue with the fact that we were entwining the Green Howards element into that. And I was going to ask you about that. What would be your message to those people? But I think you've just summed it up nicely there. The Benevolent Fund is helping those people from the original cat badges as well as the current York.
Well, to give you a little bit more sort of context, so if you go on pure cat badge breakdown, so Yorks, PWO, Green Howards, Dukes, that's 4 cat badges. So out of that £100,000 a year average that we're granting in benevolence payments, that is pretty much evenly split, about 25% per cat badge. So for those people that think we're only supporting people who are wearing the Yorks cat badge, that's not true. So we are about 20 to 25% of the money goes to PWO, 20 to 25% goes to Green Howards, 20 to 25 goes to the Dukes, 20 to 25 goes to Yorks guys, and it goes up and down. It fluctuates each year. So last year we didn't have 170 cases. I think we had about 150 cases. So those numbers do go up and down, but if you average them out, it is pretty much 25% of each year's money goes to each of the cat badges. So it's not just about the Yorks; it's about the entire regimental family.
Yeah, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, I don't think people understand that it is all the antecedent regiments as well. I think people just assume it's the Yorkshire Regiment Fund and it just looks after their own. which has never really been a thing anyway. I don't know why you would assume that anyway, but
Yeah.
it's obviously all the antecedent regiments and all the lads and the families, everything, all rolled into one. So would like because there is
Sorry,
a Green Hours Benevolent Fund, isn't there? And a Prince of Wales Benevolent Fund and a Duke of Wellington's Benevolent Fund, isn't there?
There isn't. There isn't.
Is it not?
No. So what happened on the amalgamation was they were all drawn together and put into one big pot, which is controlled by the Yorks. So the antecedent regiments have got their own associations, but they haven't got their own benevolence trusts. They've got association money. Some of them have got, so the Green Hours, for example, have got the Green Hours Trust, which really is more to do with looking after the history, heritage and the museum. It's not about necessarily looking after people. And something I should have mentioned, and you've just used the word there, Doug, is families. So it's also important to remember that the benevolence support is to the families of our service personnel as well. So the guys that we've lost, so whether that be an operational death or a death in service or a death after service, we still support their families as well and their dependents, because you can't just say that individual's no longer with us, so they're not our problem. Well, that individual may have a wife that was with him for his 22, 24 years service, and children who were moved around as the battalion moved and disrupting of education, and the wife was not able to work because they were posted in Germany and for all sorts of reasons. So we do support the families as well, not just the service personnel.
Yeah, that's how we were portraying it during our effort. We were raising money for the Benevolent Fund, which helps veterans, soldiers, and also dependents of the Yorkshire Regiment. We didn't labour on too much about the forming cap badges, if you will, but I suppose that's something to know for next time. Do you know? So when it comes to, say, for example, one of the soldiers who was injured in Afghanistan, for example, who were originally supported by the Benevolent Fund back in the day, would they still be in communication with the regiment now, do you reckon, for the most part, or not? I suppose it'll be case by case, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't go into particular cases because it's confidential. But yes, you're right. We have got people from the antecedent regiments who were injured on operations and are still being supported now by the Yorks Benevolence Trust, because, as I just said, on the formation, all of the benevolence pots all came together in one big one, controlled by the current regimental.
Yeah. Just I'll let Doug jump in, but just before we move, we spoke about prior to the recording, but could you just clarify the difference between the Benevolent Fund and the Charitable Trust? Because obviously we raise money for the Benevolent Fund, but there is also a Charitable Trust element to that as well, which I used to think was the same, but it's not. Would you be able to explain that a bit more?
Yeah, so we've got two charitable accounts, two registered charities. One's the Benevolence Trust, which you two guys have raised quite a bit of money for over the last year, and the other one's a Charitable Trust. So the Benevolence Trust is ring fenced for benevolence support. So if it's we've got a guy who's just come out of prison. We support guys through custody and after custody as well. So we might have a guy come out of prison who needs housing, and because he's been in prison, he hasn't got the money to pay for the rent in advance and the bond. So we'll step in and help with that. It may be that somebody's in financial difficulties and their white goods have broken: cookers, fridges, freezers and stuff, washing machines. So we might get involved in supporting that. Training courses, we have provided funding for training courses to get our guys back into employment after periods of unemployment. So the Benevolence Fund is used specifically for cases of benevolence where there's a financial need for a specific thing. The Charitable Trust is slightly different. So the Charitable Trust, Regimental have got a bit more control over how we spend that. So the Regimental Association, for example, is given an annual grant from Regimental Headquarters, and that's to support the association. So the branches, each of the branches, including Scarborough that you're aware of, are able to apply for a financial grant once a year to offset the cost of travel to the National Memorial Arboretum for a visit, and all sorts of things that you can ask for money for. So we've got a little bit more freedom there to support the association that way. We also Regimental headquarters also give an annual grant to each of the battalions. The 1st, the 2nd and the 4th, the reserve battalion, all get a grant, and that's to go towards sporting activities. So if we've got the 2nd battalion going on a rugby tour, they can use some of that money to offset the cost of that. So it offsets the cost to the individual. They can also use that money, the battalions, to improve the welfare for their soldiers in the battalion. For example, the community centre that they're using needed new sofas, and they couldn't get them through Defence Infrastructure Organisation. They could fund that themselves. So the Charitable Trust is for the support of the veteran community through the association, but it's also support to the serving community and their families as well. So we have got a little bit more freedom of how we distribute the money from the Charitable Trust than we have for the Benevolent Trust. Benevolent Trust, very specific set of rules governing the use of that. And I'm not saying the Charitable Trust, we don't have any control on it. We do, but we've got a little bit more flexibility of how we can spend that and distribute that back to the battalions, to the association, and other places as well. So that's the main difference.
Are the individual associations able to tap into the charitable trust for the welfare of their members as well? Does that make sense?
Yes, I mean that'll be on a case by case basis. So, for example, let's say the Scarborough branch meets in it's the Navy Club, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you meet, in the old Navy Club. So let's say, for example, you had a member who had specific access requirements. Let's say you needed a disabled ramp to enter the building. And the Navy Club couldn't provide that. So that wouldn't necessarily be a benevolence request because it's not specific to the individual. If it was that member needed an access ramp in his own home, that would be a benevolence request.
Yeah.
But if for the good and benefit of the association as an entity, you need an access ramp at the Navy Club in Scarborough, we wouldn't pay for that through benevolence, but we would consider making a contribution towards it, either through the association or through the Charitable Trust.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. But where would a veteran now who's watching this, one of the Yorkshire Regiment or one of the original forming cap badges, where would he go now, or she, if they required assistance from the Benevolent Fund?
So there's a couple of ways of doing it. So if you were to go on to the Royal Yorkshire Regiment website, you just type in Royal Yorkshire Regiment, ping, it comes up. There's a contact us there. So you can contact us through the website and say, I'm in difficulty because of this particular circumstance. Can you help me? So that's one way of doing it. The quickest way to do it is to get in touch direct with SAFA. So SAFA are a coordinating authority. So we're a funding authority, for want of a better term. SAFA are a coordinating authority. So SAFA would allocate a caseworker who goes through the application form and says, what is it that you need? What's your financial circumstances? And that is uploaded to a system called Mosaic, which then comes direct to me as the benevolence manager, for want of a better term. I then open the case, download all the documents, see what it is that's been asked for, why it's been asked for. That then goes to the Benevolence Committee, and we try to get those turned around and answered within 48 hours of receipt. So if you, Lee, were to phone up SAFA on a Monday morning and say, I'm in difficulty, hopefully SAFA will get a caseworker either to in person or over the phone that same day. They would complete the paperwork and submit that. Let's say I then pick that up on Tuesday morning. I then send that to the Benevolence Committee. We're all in full-time roles, so it may not be an instant response. Hopefully, by close of play the Wednesday, I would have confirmation from the members of the Benevolence Committee, and there's only 3 of us, me plus 2. We then say, yes, we agree that. I then send that to the resources officer and say, please make the payment. So that money could be potentially in SAFA's bank, ready to make the payment, close of play Wednesday, first things Thursday. So we have had a lot of our cases have been that quick. Within the space of 1 working week, from the initial phone call to SAFA to us releasing the money and whatever it is that's been requested, being funded, can be as quick as within a working week.
Decent, yeah.
That is the quickest way to do it.
Good. And where would people go if they wanted to support the Benevolent Fund or the Charitable Trust? Is there platforms where they can make donations or make offers of support?
There is. We've got,
apart from donating to our VE Hard Routine charity tour, that is, of course.
We slide that one in there.
The background's fuzzed out so you can't see it. Hang on a minute. Let me unfuzz that.
Tell you what we could do. We could, if you wanted to send me a picture of that, and I could stick it on with the video.
Right, yeah, that's probably easier because you don't want to see being behind in the office. There could be all sorts of stuff there. Just saw my keys
No
on.
bother.
We had the benevolence leaflets made, and you'll recall because you were both at the AGM, I think last year when I dished them out. So that's got information about the regimental charities in there. There's a QR code, you can scan it, make a donation. You can also sign up to make a monthly payment, like donkey sanctuaries, £3 a month. You could do £3 a month to the Regimental Benevolence Trust because the serving community pay the one per year. And when you leave, you don't do that anymore. But some of us are fortunate that we have got homes, jobs, families, settled, and we can give £3 a month. So you can sign up to do it that way. And then there are the one-off charity fundraising events like the VE Hard Routine, who have got GoFundMe pages, and you can absolutely click on any of their socials and make a donation.
Tell you what would be a good one if we could sponsor a squaddy.
Sponsor for what?
Sponsor a squaddy for like £2 a month. We can get him his noodles in the block,
and you get regular updates on what he's doing.
Yeah, I won't go into detail here about what he might be doing, but yeah, no, that's very good. That Mick. Doug, is there anything you wanna ask? I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna have to shoot in a minute.
No, but I've just got this down here, and I don't know if it's something we could look into. But would you be willing to give up a day's pay? Whether veterans would be willing to give up a day of their pay for the year, as if, because you're never going to see it. Look, the lads who are serving don't see it. You don't realise it's gone, and if it could possibly double the income that the Benevolent Fund or the Charitable Trust receives. Even if, let's say, out of 1,000 veterans, only 200 sign up, would it be something to look into? Because I think I would be willing to give up a day of my pay. It's a day over a year.
Yeah, so that's really the aim of the benevolence leaflet flyer that I've just been talking about, and I said £3 a month like a donkey sanctuary, but you can put in as much as you want. So if you get paid a lot of money, you could make a significant contribution. So you could put in £3 a month, you could put in £50 a month. So if you work out what your daily rate is and divide that by 12 and go, that's what I'm going to give, then absolutely you can do that. So you can put in whatever amount you want using the monthly giving scheme. And I'll send you I've got an electronic version of it. I'll send you an electronic version that you can include with your social.
Yeah, do it. We'll stick it up for this as well. Yeah. No dramas.
I might look at making a video or something, just to getting it out there.
Yeah.
Along the lines of give up a day's pay. You know what I mean? See if it gains some traction amongst the veteran community, which could be a good thing.
So you know what you were saying before, right at the beginning, Lee, about the younger generation being put off by going to the Legion and seeing old duffers sat there. I am one of the old duffers. So, I can put things out on social media and say, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you give us some money? And people just go, yeah, ignore the old duffer. But when it's a young, dashing, fit chap like you, Doug, offering to make videos and stuff, hey.
As I said, me, not you.
I've seen your TikTok profile. You guys, and I don't want to sound patronising saying you young lads, but you younger generation lads are more relatable to the younger generation veterans. So when you have got your TikToks and you're saying, why don't you do this? People are more likely of your kind of generation to listen to what you're saying than some old fart like me.
Do you think a lot of lads follow suit as well?
What's that?
Do you think a lot of lads follow suit? So if Joe Blogs sees Mr. Smith doing it, it's like, oh well, he's done it, so I'm going to do it.
I think so. Yeah.
There could be some of that. If people sort of advertise and saying, "I've done this, why don't you do that?" and then it might. But let's not forget, we are all Yorkshiremen, and we don't like giving money away.
No, I don't mind giving everyone else's money away. I don't mind doing that.
I'm quite happy to live rough in a field for 7 days in order to get other people's money and give it to you. That'll be all right.
Quite right.
I must dash, unfortunately. Thanks for your time, Mick. I don't know if you two want to carry on the chat, but I'm going to have to depart, unfortunately.
Well, just before you go, Lee, I would just like to say to the pair of you while you're both still on, Regimentally, we're very grateful for all the work that you two have done over the last year, and it's not even a year, and we were discussing this before. So the Three Peaks Challenge in Yorkshire last June raised quite a bit of money for the regiment, and then this year you're just going bigger and better each year. So I'm dread to see what's coming next, but regimentally, we are very grateful, and these financial contributions really do help us to maintain the support to our serving veteran family community. So thank you very much, the pair of you.
Cheers, Mick. It's a pleasure to do it.
Yeah, we appreciate the kind words.